Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Autopsy with Maddie P. I'm your host, Maddie P, or Cupid, today, if you will. And I have a new co-host over here, Mr. Barry, sitting right and tight on them thighs. Sorry. It is Valentine's Day. This will be going out on the 15th or the 13th, I believe. I love Valentine's Day. I'm single, but I honestly think you're a hater if you don't like Valentine's Day because it's pink and purple and hearts. It's sweet. And finally, the world is how I want it to look. Glittery and pink. So I love Valentine's. I'm also a big romanticizer on life, which does not exclude holidays. And I am an insane person when it comes to certain holidays. So this is just the first of many of my gimmicks. This is probably enough to diagnose me, but that's okay. And don't worry, I don't have much of a warm-up today. I don't want to bore the hell out of you. And we're talking about boys and booze. And do I have a lot to say about men? Do I? I'm looking at you. And I'll start by saying, I've held your hand this whole time. I've been nice to you. I've been trying to enable the strength in you, not preaching at you. This changes today. This is about men, and we're getting down to business in this Oval Office, in this Chili's today. And, I did want to talk about, though, Doechii, the Grammys. And I have never been, a huge award show watcher, only because I can't keep up with dates. And, didn't we outgrow the whole watch this at Thursday at noon or whatever, as I post a podcast every week. But, it's hard for me. I've grown out of that. I don't have cable TV. But I loved the Grammys this year. I thought Doechii deserved every ounce of praise that she got. And it was so sweet to see some of our favorite artists, supporting her. She was the third female artist to win Best Rap Album of the Year. Black female, should I add. That's what I meant to say. Black female artist. And just the support in the room. And Black women are the most marginalized people on this earth. Black women and Middle Eastern women. And to see her blossom and speak directly to those other young girls who just have these big dreams, it literally kind of makes me emotional. I just thought it was beautiful, and the support, yeah. And Chappell Roan gave a speech calling out the industry. And for a second, I'm like, wow, it's kind of crazy that these girls are just started their career in some sense, and they're already carrying a Grammy. And I'm like, that shows the exposure and the magnitude of social media nowadays, and the magnitude of TikTok, and the fact that she could go from in her bedroom not very long ago working on music to a Grammy. And at first I'm like, should that be a thing? Yes, it should, because these women are calling out the right thing, and they are being role models. They're leading girls, and especially Chappell Roan. I've seen her interviews, and she is like, I don't know if I should act this way, and I shouldn't. You should, girl. You stand the fuck up. You stand up, queen. And I love that about you. And I think it's a great role model for all the young girls out there. So, loved the Grammys. If you didn't see Doechii's performance, if you didn't see her acceptance speech, you're down bad. It will move you. It was just beautiful. Her dress. Oh my God. I don't know who made Doechii's dress. I need to figure out. I'm going to Google at some point who that stylist was, because that was just, and it was so on point with her brand and all that, of course, Maddie. But it was just, so it was like a suit dress. I'm not even going to try to fucking explain. It was great. That's it for warm up. Just want to talk about the Grammys and shed some light on my girls. Also, I did see a movie one of them days with Keke Palmer and SZA. It was so good. If you have not seen that movie, it was genuinely so good. And I watch so many movies, so I do not throw that around a ton. I will be rewatching that movie. Great movie. But unfortunately, we're not here to talk about movies today. Kind of wish we were now, because I'm about to drag you. And we will start by saying, entering sobriety. People say the first year you should not date and you should not make any big life changes. This includes changing jobs. This includes moving, whatever, which I agree with. And I will not be dating for a year. It is a suggestion. I know that everyone is not as tainted as me when it comes to men. So up to you. Okay. I couldn't touch a man if I tried. Like, dead ass. And it's sobriety. So, like, I can't picture going on a date sober. And maybe that's helping me through my year of no boys. But I'm going to expose myself. There was this guy, and I thought he was really, really cute. And he thought I was cute. And it was obvious. The vibe was there. But I could not look at him. Like, I could not. Like, I was like a little girl again. Like, kiki. And that's because I always, like, I was not that way before. Like, I want you, I'm gonna take you, as drunk Maddee. Like, dead ass. I never was nervous around men. I wasn't nervous taking the first shot. Like, none of that. So, and other people apparently are not this way. I know people who get sober and then they're, like, sex addicted. And they use that as a form of filling holes and coddling and stuff. Yeah, clearly I did not. So, first things first, I highly recommend a year of no boys with your year of sobriety or your first year of sobriety. I have learned to, drumroll please. Thank you, Mr. Barry. Celibacy. I'm a celibate woman. And I will continue to be that way until next year. And honestly, part of me is like, this isn't hard for me. I want you guys to know that. Honestly, this life chose me. So, and I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone. You know, some people have already found him. And how does it feel to be God's favorite if you have found him? Honestly, I know you guys have heard this before. Having sex with men changes your pH. Their vibrations then go to your vibrations. You don't want to be him. You don't want to be nothing like him, and you do not want his energy in you, I promise. Is it just me, or are a lot of men insufferable? I don't want that energy up in my twat, up in my brain. Sorry for the TMI, but if you're not aware, there is an energy transaction that occurs upon sex, and it's real. I know it to be true because I look back to a few rendezvous that I had and felt like shit the next day. And I'm like, oh, that guy hates himself. So I think you should take that tidbit of advice and remember that. So, like I said, I have been nice this whole time to you guys. If you're getting sober, if you're wanting to grow, if you're wanting to change your life, cut the boy out. If you're in a relationship, you need to be very clear with this person. If this is someone who you're going to be with for the rest of your life, or you're already married to, you already know that it's the person. You have to be very firm on your boundaries and say, for this year, we're stepping back. I have to focus on me. And maybe that looks like not talking to each other, not touching each other, whatever that might look like for you. And I know I sound crazy saying that, but my job here today is to persuade you. To lean into yourself and lean away from the boys, lean away from the fogginess that comes from relationship as well, even healthy ones, and take a step back. Take yourself on a date, go hang with the girls. So that's how I feel about boys. 100% take a step back. So now we get into the persuading process. Let me ask you, how many times has a man betrayed you? How many times have you put your trust in a man to find out they are not at all what you thought they were? How many numbers do you have on your hand? How many times, too, mind you, have you let the man in your life become your entire world? Everything is them. What you doing? We can't act like that. And I know for me, if I were to find a man right now and want to go on a date, do whatever with him, he could take me as quickly as liquor. He could, all of this stuff I've built, all this growth, all of these podcasts, all this stuff, A man could become the center of my world like that. And I'm not scared to admit that. I'm not. I never really was somebody that had to have a boyfriend. Like, I've been through very many dry spells, very many single spells in my life. This is not new to me, honestly, which is why it's probably easy. But he's going to ruin you. And it is not necessarily his fault. We can't trust ourselves to lightly date. And with dating too, there is no half in, half out. You have to be all in for this person. Do you want your life to revolve around somebody else? No. And relationships don't have to be that way. But we're at an age, we're at a place, we haven't learned some of that stuff yet. And I feel like, at least this is what I feel like, a lot of people don't understand in a relationship, you're two separate people. You are not the same person. You are not experiencing the same thing. You have your own worlds, your own lives. And that, if that was much more prominent in our society, I probably wouldn't be sitting here making this, because I could trust you. I could trust you to keep your head on straight, but I can't trust you to keep your head on straight. I can't trust myself to keep my head on straight. So I'm wearing a chastity belt because I can't trust it. And this isn't like a form of punishment. Like, you can't trust them. And people need to prove that to you. You can't just trust people off rip. That's what I have done for a long time. I'm very trusting. And I had a man, recent ex-boyfriend, who I trusted so deeply. Turn around, this man was not whatsoever who I thought he was. Not an inch of who I thought he was. I've been being played the entire time I was with him. So that's not a punishment to have men taking away from you. It's giving you peace. It's giving you some space. So that's first things first. And I'm going to be honest. I hope you girls feel me when I say this. Almost all of the guys I've talked to or relationships I've been in, I settle about something. And don't worry, I'm fully aware that they're settling with something on me too, but it is never Mr. Perfect. It never has been. Every time I'm like, oh, I wish they didn't do this, or I wish they weren't like this, but I'll go ahead and take it. Apparently that's not normal. Apparently you do fall head over heels for somebody, and there is a Mr. Right out there, allegedly. Wait for him, queen, because when I tell you I've settled so many times, and I feel like that's normal. I feel like we often settle, like I could have settled to the point of marrying somebody. Yeah. And I feel like that's normal. No settling. And if you feel like I'm one of those people, I don't want to learn your life. I don't want to relearn a whole new thing. I don't want to be part of your world. I don't want to have to deal with when you're upset, when you're happy, whatever. You can't invite somebody into that. That's fucked up. You're in a mind. And if you're choosing to be in a relationship while you're in that mindset, you're doing yourself an injustice and you're doing the other person an injustice. And I wish I had known that, because I could have saved myself a few heartbreaks and or breaking a few hearts is kind of what I mean by that. And that's just the honesty, the truth of the matter. And I don't have room for a guy. Like, if there was a stinky man in here, I don't even know. I'd be having to sweep all up behind him. Ugh. And if you feel like you're trapped, you feel like you're spending too much time with a man, you're trapped, and he is trapping you if you feel that way. Don't let yourself get in this place in your mind where you're like, is that true? He's a great guy though. Savannah, he's a great man. No, he's not. He's not. And I had this problem in my relationships in the past where men think because you want to spend time alone, you want to spend time with your friends or family, that you don't like them as much as the rest of your life or whatever, or you don't want to live life with them. That shit pisses me the fuck off. Are you a baby? And let me tell you, if you feel that way, it is not wrong of you. Run from that man. And the past relationships that I have gotten since I recognized this was apparently an issue across all men was very early on. If you're going to accept me, I spend time alone. I spend time with my girls and I spend time with my family. You are not first and foremost in my life. You will never be first and foremost. And unfortunately, every time that has happened, still, at some point, the man wants to say, well, you don't love me as much. And I say, remember when I told you about that? Don't question me on my shit. Don't question if I love you or not because I want to go spend time with my friends. And that shit is so fucked up. Why do men do that? I don't get that. It disgusts me. It turns me off completely from the whole specimen. And I don't know if other people experience that, but you are right and justified in thinking that they're nasty for doing that, and making you feel that way about yourself, and causing a rift in the relationship over something like that is just like, shouldn't you be happy I love my friends? Shouldn't you be happy I want to go live my own life? Like, and it takes away the joy and the beauty of spending time with somebody. Then it's like a obligation. And then, like, of course, it's not necessarily an quote unquote obligation because it's your boyfriend, but it is an obligation. And you let your brain be like, I love him though. Yeah, well, he forced you to be here. Like, you chose him over your friends or over your family. You know, it's gross. And I don't think that should be the case. So I wanted to point out that little tidbit about boys. And that is a huge reason I will not be with men, because you are not about to make me change my life. You know, it's inconsiderate to ask of somebody. And I find it highly inappropriate. And this goes for my girls that have been in a relationship, especially the transition period. I'd say from like 18 to 25. So if you're in a relationship that started at the end of high school or the beginning of college and you built kind of a life with this person, so the transition, like, this is the transition period relationship. I went through one of these as well, where you are starting to now build your adult life with somebody. So you're locked in. So it feels like we're locked. And those relationships are almost nearly impossible to escape. And typically a lot of trauma bonding comes in with those relationships. I really hope that you're one of the girls that found the man at that time and y'all are still in love and everything's great. In which case, how does it feel to be God's favorite? Love you for that. But I have found, at least, that a lot of girls, when they get into these relationships, and I found this with myself, that I stopped growing from the day I met that person. From the day that it started. And you are being halted and halted and halted by this relationship. You can't bloom and you can't move forward. And I find that to be very only about, like, limited to that transition period of relationship. Like, if your relationship was during that time. Because I see other people with shitty relationships, but they're still able to grow on their own. Obviously, it's a lot harder when there's a disgusting pig man breathing down your neck. Ugh, that was hateful. Sorry, man. Am I though? I'm not. Fuck that. I'm not sorry. But I want you guys to be weary of those relationships and of that transition period and what it really looks like for a man to lean on you. Blech. Right? Well, you should be leaning on the men. Like, come on here. Grow a pair. So, I don't know. I just wanted to call out my theory on that time period, because I know I did not grow until I exited that at like 23. I think I stopped that relationship around 23. No, I was like 22, probably. Anyways, doesn't even fucking matter. So get out of that relationship, run from that man. And if you're in one of those things where you're just like stuck together with that man, he needs to give you space. If you don't have the balls to tell that man, I'm done with you and you're pissing me off and like, I don't even think this is working, take breaks. I don't see anything wrong with breaks. Men always say breaks aren't real. It's over. Well, actually, you know what? Almost every time that I've taken a break, I never went back, because girls break up with men so much quicker. Like, I broke up with my ex, both of my exes I broke up with so far before I had actually broken up with them in real life, like very far before. So listen to those things in your mind and your body and immediately voice your opinion on that and say, I don't like this XYZ and I need to get out of here. I need to go. And it might be a little bit and it might be a long time. You decide. And guess what? That man will chase you if he loves you. I am such a believer, and if he wanted to, he would. Because there are very few that would. Very, very few. Even the ones that want to. Because they're just little boys. And their brain is not developed. If someone loves you, they let you fly. Period. Look at me when I say that to you. That man will let you go if he loves you. And if not, then unfortunately, you are with a prepubescent little boy with peach fuzz. You are not with no man. If he loves you, he will let you fly. He will do whatever it takes to support you becoming the best version of yourself. That will matter to him, and it will be important to him as well. And if it's not, wrong one, ho. Back up. Put it in reverse, Terry. Back up. And you know the loneliness I just can't stop telling y'all about? We just can't stop talking about the loneliness. With early sobriety, there comes an emotional, natural loneliness. It's a walk that you can't describe to other people, and you have to take those steps alone. You have to walk alone. People aren't going to understand, and your growth is it's going to be muted. There's a better word for that, but I'll go with that. Your growth is going to be muted. And you don't want somebody questioning where you're coming from, questioning your sobriety, questioning X, Y, and Z. Get your head up, ditch that man in the back, and get sober on your own. On your own. And the longer that we're distracted is the more pain we're in. Men are one of the biggest distractions in our life. And the longer we're distracted, the longer that we stay in those suffocating relationships, the longer it's going to take you to heal, and the longer it's going to take to pick your head back up and move on. You sitting there, you going through all this shit in your head is not doing anything. You will not start growing until you're done. Love does not pressure you. Love does not force you to be something you're not. Love does not ask you to put aside your personal growth. Love does not ask you to put aside who you are. Love does not ask you to change things about yourself, and it never will. And here's the thing. I am looking for Mr. Right to the point that if Mr. Right doesn't exist, then I'm Miss Perfect. That was a big claim, but you know what I mean by that, analogy-wise. Then I'll be alone. If he am I asking too much of men? Then okay. Then fuck you too, bitch. Yeah, I don't care. There's more fish in the sea. I'm waiting for Mr. Right. No, we don't need to be to a point that we're just waiting for Mr. Right and we're holding out. We need to be at a point that we don't care what happens because we're at peace. And if that looks like the rest of our life walking alone, then that's what that looks like, because we deserve the best. And that's the point that I know I've kind of gotten to. That's why sometimes I joke about not getting married or not finding the right person, because they might just not exist for me. This might be a solo walk. And I'd rather do that than play all these damn games and be hurt and suffering by the end of it. This is hilarious because I'm wearing a love thing on my head. So this is just very funny. And we can't regret. We can't look back at this man that we're with and be like, damn, I should have been done with him. He showed me signs when we were dating long before we got married, or long before we took serious steps in our relationship and moved in together, or whatever the hell it was. You do not want to look back and regret choosing him. And the further you get down that line, the worse it's going to get. You're just going to not be able to untangle yourself from him. And at that point, you might be so damaged, you might not even be able to find anybody else who understands. You don't want to regret. You don't want to look back at your life and think, wow, I could have spent that time finding myself. I could have spent that time reading a damn book. I could have watched all of Traitors season 1, which I did in basically one day. Love that for me. And you don't want to look back and wish life was different. And I feel like that is what drives a lot of my passions and a lot of my willingness to grow and my willingness to see better, because I didn't want to look back and see that version of my life and be like so disappointed and be like, damn, like this wasn't what I wanted of life and I could have made better of it and I didn't. And men come with that too. You don't want to look back, you know? And kind of recapping to what I had said, you need to be at a point where 100% your peace comes first. There is no shakiness on that. There is no question. That man needs to prove himself to you. Do you understand that? He needs to go to a show. He can go to his flip, put on some lighting, because he's got to show you. He's got a lot to show you before you even start to roll over, before you even give the damn man a look in the right direction, before you even give him the time of day. And I know any man watching this is like, this is the problem. No, you need to be shown. We're so convinced. And I wish, like, I always thought that there was good men out there. And of course I stand by that. But there's a difference in the right man and the right man for you. Because I have plenty of guy friends who I think will be great husbands, great dads. They're going to do great in life. They're going to be great people. They wouldn't be for me. And you need to get to a point where 100% that's what's most important. There shouldn't be the thought of men going through your head, you know? And you have to get to a point where, like, natural and organic is the number one thing that matters to you. Because, like, for me, when I meet this person, if I do, natural. It occurred. The stars brought me this man, just like sobriety, you know? And that means, like, when my time comes, that's going to be, if it does, that's going to be very exciting, because I worked so hard on myself for that person. So when I finally meet them, I get to tell them, I have worked on myself for you. So I'm here for you. Let's grow together. We get to do this damn thing. How cool is this? We get to ace life, have the best kids, do the best shit. And I pray for my husband. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I pray for my husband and I pray for my kids. I'm 25, which I know that's actually kind of the age for getting married and have kids. Not for this girl. Not for this girl. I pray for them and I think of them and I do right by my kids. I do. And mostly it's about my children. I want to do right by them. And I want to be an example for them early on, like from the jump, be an example for them, and for them to understand that this life can be the best life, to choose them first. And it sounds so selfish to choose us first, but in reality, it's not selfish at all. Us choosing us first too protects other people. And I don't know if that's a crazy stance or a crazy thought that I have on that, but it protects other people. Us being selfish in turn creates like a unity. It creates more like cohesivity. That's not a word. Whatever. It creates an environment like that. And so selfish. And what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do? Again, I don't know if you guys remember on the last podcast, I talked about how women around the world don't get the opportunity to work alongside men. They don't get the opportunity at education. Women around the world, and I know I sound like a crazy person for this, women around the world do not have the opportunity to find themselves. They do not get to be their own person. They are property. We in the United States or in these free countries, again, fuck my country, you know, just saying, pointing out the good parts, that we get to grow, we get to blossom, we get to go on these beautiful excursions to find who we are deep inside. And in a lot of ways, it's encouraged, at least vocally. People think it's encouraged. It's actually very much so still not. But even if you think back to your mom and your grandmother, or maybe not your mom, maybe like great grandmas and stuff, they also didn't get that. So we get the opportunity to fight for ourselves, and that is a beautiful gift. Women do not get that, and we need to stand 10 on that. And I stand firm by that belief, because we get opportunities other people don't get, and it's taken for granted. Instead, we lay in bed with our broken heart, fix me, heal me. Like, come on, grow up, fight for this shit, fight for who you are, stand on 10, because you don't get to change. When you get to a certain age, dogs don't learn new tricks. You don't want to be bitter as shit. And dogs do learn new tricks. It is a potential for everyone to change. But when you get stuck in that cycle and you're already trapped in him, you're fucked. Sorry. And you just need to become so self-sufficient, you outgrow the need. And this is the building blocks for a great relationship down the line. And my husband, when he walks up to me the day I meet him, he better say, I have worked for you too. I have worked for this life. I have worked for our children's life. And I want generational wealth. I want my kids to be able to do what they're passionate about, to learn and love and grow and do all these great things in life, to have the opportunities that I was given. And as an alcoholic, I was very close to having the opposite of that. And I love the fact that even before I have one, I get to start caring about that, which is kind of crazy, but I do. And I care about what I represent now. And how I carry myself and the message that I choose to share with women, which is the fact that other women don't get this opportunity. And it's important you look at it that way. Men ain't shit. Men ain't shit. He's not better than you. He's not smarter than you. I used to think in one of my relationships, I'd be like, oh, well, he's a man. He knows right. And that stems from listening to our father, because my dad does know everything and he is smart, like one of the smartest people ever. Literally. I used to think that I could trust my ex-boyfriends to make decisions and then be smarter, or to like come up with the solution to something and be like, okay, well, they're smarter than me. That's not true. I don't know if I was the only person that thought that because they were a man, they were smarter than me. I don't know if that was taught to me. It definitely wasn't by my family by any means or anything, not by my father, nothing like that. But in terms of society. And I would just think that the man has the right answers. That is not fucking true at all. The likelihood of you being smarter than him is really high. And because of that, they hate on us. And it's so easy for your boyfriend to become your biggest hater. I had an ex like that. It is not a fun place to be in. Your man should not be your biggest hater. He should be your biggest supporter, and he should always be complimenting you, and he should have a red carpet that he carries around and rolls out. And that's another Southern thing in me too. Listen to your parents and listen to your friends. They see it. They see the destruction of you far before you do. They see you changing in ways you can't even see yet. And I never listened to my friends and family. Wish I did. Your parents know right. They know you. And they know who's right for you. And that used to bother me. Like, I'd be like, oh, I have to get past my parent test to make sure this person's right for me, you know? Well, it's the truth. And the basic things men don't do. Like, as a Southern woman too, growing up, I made a TikTok video about this where men like are super loud coming to your house, like loud car, revving the engine, driving fast through your neighborhood, kissing you in front of your parents, or even touching you in front of your parents at all. Like, no, like, a man should be talking to your parents at a dinner table. You should not include him in conversation. He is a grown man. He should be wanting to get to know your parents. He should be willing to have conversations with them, to joke with them. You shouldn't have to do any of that. And the Southern part of it is right. You need a gentleman. He should be opening your doors. And if he wasn't taught that way, whatever, fuck him. Then he needs to learn. And if you have to teach him, you have to teach him, because he should be opening your doors. He should be making you breakfast. He should be doing shit for you. And I'm not saying that we need to be spoiled. That's not what I'm saying. But you need to be treated with respect. And there are a lot of red flags. And let me tell you, the first date, the first couple times you're meeting somebody, if he's got a potty mouth or he tends to talk shit about people and you can just tell, get out. Because I cuss like a sailor, don't mind cussing, but that shows you don't mind calling me a bitch. That shows later down the line you won't mind calling me a cunt or whatever it is. And listen to me right here. Do not tolerate being called names at all. I'm called a name, I'm out. Do not speak to me like that. Do not call me a name. If you need to go around outside and go clear your little potty little boy head, then you need to do that. You will not be calling me a bitch, or you will be losing me. And that's the type of energy you should have. No one should be talking to you like that. And I was always really fearful of like abusive relationships forming and things like that. And I realized that I had the right red flags in place when I look for a man. And so I wanted to share that early, like big cussing and shit like that. And just like anger is a huge red flag. If that man can't control himself, you need to go. And I'm saying that with the severity of the fact that men have fucked on women for so many thousands and thousands of years. And now we're lucky enough to have evolved to a state that it is now recognized we don't get treated as such, and that we do have our own lives and our own careers, and we get to move forward. Again, crazy that we weren't born that way. Does that not like strike you guys? Like, if I was born somewhere else in the world right now, I would not be getting to do this. And that, like, imagine being so muted. Like, does that not like mind boggle you that on different parts of the world at this time, at this day and age, other women are not going through the same things we're going through? Like, our little, what we think to be these big issues, they're really just small trials and tribulations compared to what these women are going through. And I sound like a Fox News man for saying that. But women used to get beat on all the time. I don't handle loud noises well. Don't yell at me. Don't look at me a certain way. Do not judge me. Do not scream at me. Do not rush me. You speak to me with kindness and respect. Because guess what? I can guarantee I'm doing that with you. Because we're soft and we're sweet and we're, oh, don't feel that way. Don't do this. Well, they'll turn around and backhand the hell out of you, And this isn't meant to be about hate men. I do think that there's a reason that male and female are so different and why in the right circumstances they can make such a beautiful and good team. But I'm trying to urge you, that doesn't just come because you met a man. That comes from work on the relationship, work on self. And you need to find a man that's willing to work on himself and work on the relationship as well. Those beautiful, we're different in terms of a lot of reasons. And the way that comes together is up to you. And so I think relationships, if you're not there to get married and you're not there to grow a life together and work on each other and have the most beautiful world, then you're not there for the right reasons. And I'll tell you, when I find my person this time, we're getting, this is about marriage. I'm done dating. And I'd rather just be single until I find the person. I'm done flirting. I'm done just fucking around. I'm done talking to somebody who has got 4 hoes in their phone. And I'm a lover girl. Nothing wrong with that. You want to blame me for that? Go right ahead, bitch, because y'all made me this way. And I have turned into a lover girl. I did not used to be like that. And it's because it's just what's the point for you to fuck around on me? And for me to pretend that I don't care. And I did go through a period where in active addiction where I really just didn't care about men at all. I didn't need validation from them too in a lot of ways. Different parts of sobriety of active addiction I did, but there were stages where I didn't. And now the last thing I look for is I'd rather a girl tell me I was cute than a boy right now, because I can trust that she knows what she's talking about at least. So yeah. Okay. New part. I want to talk about solitude and the importance of solitude. I'm not going to lie. I learned the information I'm about to tell you at the International African American Museum in Charleston, like a classic white person. And they're obviously across the board in history are a lot of evidence of solitude and the importance of that. So for instance, in Africa, I'll read you, they used to send their young children out into the bush or wherever their, whatever their terrain was, send them out into the wilderness for them to find themselves. They go alone and they go for long periods of time, and to find themselves. And that's how important it is in a lot of cultures. I'm choosing to show history and the representation of that, because some of the greatest triumphs and things in life come from the solitude. If you're a Christian too, a lot of the Bible, a lot of Jesus was solitude. Do you see him macking on somebody? Not that I'm bringing Jesus into this, but if you're a Christian, if you want to look at it that way, he wasn't macking on nobody. Bro was in solitude for 33 years. And who was the best man, allegedly? Him. Because he was alone. Just saying. And I wanted to read. Sorry, I'm reading. So the Africans sent kids into nature. I also don't know exactly where in Africa this is. I'm sure there is different practices done amongst all the different cultures there. This is just the peoples that I learned about at the museum. There's a whole video on it. But African communities have connected rites of passage to the environment and nature. So going alone in solitude at that age is a rite of passage. It is an honor to be able to walk alone. And this is because African spirituality is based on the belief that everything in existence is spiritual and has a purpose, which I stand beside. And we have just so let go of that. That doesn't even exist anymore, at least in America. So I think more people should be exposed to that, and also there's something in Japan called the solo katsu. I think I'm saying that right. Solo katsu. And it's traveling in solitude is what that means. Even if you're married, but you decide that weekend, I want to go spend some time alone. I need to go to this part of Japan and just go hiking and have some food and go stay by myself for the week. That's normalized there. You don't hear a man being like, you don't love me. No, it's encouraged because that's where you gain power alone. They don't want you to gain power, girl. They don't want you to. You want to. I'm about to bite somebody today. And that is encouraged in cultures, especially with a standard like Japan that high. That's a culture you might want to withhold yourself to. That might be the anime girl in me, but there is something about Japanese culture that did not get it wrong for damn Skippy. But then there's the other side, the work stuff. But anyways, so solo katsu is widely embraced and considered a legitimate way to enjoy oneself, with many people engaging in activities like eating alone, traveling solo, or spending time in quiet contemplation. Even though the society is generally considered group-oriented, this is often seen as a way to achieve personal peace and reflection without feeling pressured by social expectations. So there are places in Japan that cater to these travelers. They cater to one, small rooms, to one meal, to small appetizers, whatever it is. And I think that is so beautiful. We forget the power in being alone, and that a man should want that of you. That means you care. And you can't do that with a man. Again, why I'm persuading you to walk alone, at least for a bit, like for the first year. I'm not saying don't have men your whole life, obviously. So this is another quote. We love quotes. Oh, and I thought it was fun to do a juxtaposition kind of about the fact that in history, walking alone and being exiled can either be seen as solitude or as punishment. And I'll get back when we're going to talk more about the feeling of loneliness, of course. And so we'll talk more about solitude and things like that. But that juxtaposition is I found that last night while I was looking into this. And that's very interesting to me, that it can be seen as so polarizing. And I think that is almost evidence of how the magnitude that those lessons hold, and that your brain, or if you're told you're going away for punishment, is a lot different than being told you get the right to go scour those woods for your soul and to find your ancestors or find whoever the fuck you think you are. And I feel like it's part of the human condition in so many ways, where those most beautiful lessons can be seen in such opposing ways. So I thought that was just an interesting tidbit. And another quote: every man must do two things alone. He must do his own believing, and he must do his own dying. I said it. I said what I said. Or that man said what he said. Two things alone: believing and dying. That's beautiful. If you're somebody that has issues with being alone, I want you to get to the bottom of it. I'm not going to scream at you, because I know that's really, really hard. And I don't think you're less than for it, but you got to get control and kind of get to the base of that. And we're facing our fears. I'm encouraging you to face your fear. If you need some of my strength again, I'll send it to you in the mail, because I want you to be able to spend time alone. I want you to be in a place where the most important thing is yourself and your happiness. Because in turn, that is you caring about everybody else. I want you to remember that. In turn, that is you trying to give your best to the world as well. It's not selfish. Life isn't about them. Life isn't about men. It's not about procreating. Life is about us. We hit those points at some point in life. You don't want to rush that. We're still animals. We still procreate, whatever. But your life is about you. And you want to find somebody that enables that allows you, that almost loves that, because they do it for themselves. And I know my person will look like that. And we're not giving a damn if I skeet out for the weekend to go do my solo katsu. Because let me tell you, in my married life, you're going to see me doing that solo katsu shuffle all around the damn town. Because I will be spending time by my lonesome. And I will love my man, but still. Here's another quote that I've heard. When it comes to rich and powerful men and wanting to be quote unquote like the rich wife, the trophy wife, I heard this quote as well too. And it's that you don't want to be with him, you want to be him. So I want you to analyze that. When that hit me like deep, to the point that I was like, oh, duh, you want to be him. You don't want to be with him, you want to be him. And I think that changed a lot of my frame of mind, because it reminded me that I can get to that level, that there is nothing limiting any of us. In actuality, we can strive for whatever we want, and we can start that today. We can start that when we're 40. There is no limit on that. And we can be just as powerful, just as successful as we want to be, but we have to be willing to work for that, mind you, too. And I feel like with men, they're encouraged. They have to provide, that's their job. Thank God that we get to, I love that there's like that the woman can be a breadwinner now. I would not mind at all. I say that now, but like I would not mind. I think that's like, that's for those women, you know, like imagine being a little girl right now somewhere that doesn't get to be herself and seeing a woman somewhere winning all the money for their family. And, you know, they went and did what they wanted. They had the balls to go out in life. Like that gives them hope too. I mean, obviously they probably won't see that, but you know, you don't want to be him. You don't want to be his wife. You want to be him. And being alone helps us build relationships. So like where I'm at now, when I'm upset, when I'm going through something, whatever it is, I run to my sister, I run to my friends, I run to my family. I don't run to a man. And my relationships have blossomed tenfold because of that. Because you know what it is? Trust is built by us showing other people that we trust them. That's what real trust is. It's us being vulnerable and coming clean and sharing things with those people. That's how we build trust. And we do that through opening up. And a lot of things that you wouldn't tell anybody else, you tell your boyfriend, go tell that to your girlfriend right now. Go talk to her. That builds our relationships. And you know, and of course this is the whole, like I'll do a whole thing on girlhood and friendship and sobriety and friendship, but it elongates our girlhood. And at some point, like we grow out of that. And it's sad. But like at some point your husband does become your life and that's okay. That's the course of life. You know, at some point you don't get to spend as much time with your girls. You don't get to do all this fun stuff you get to do now. And it elongates that girlhood and it heals our inner child in a lot of ways to be able to build those relationships. And those are things that you wouldn't be able to do if you were with a man. So I want you to remember that being alone builds your relationships with your friends and with your family. And you get to expose parts of yourself to them that you might not get to naturally. So it builds a closeness with that, but B, you can see how much of you is tolerable and it kind of preps you, you know, in a lot of ways for a relationship. Because in a real relationship, the relationship you should be having, there is no walls up. You know each other. And relationships are built on trust. Obviously, I'm talking like I know anything, but they are. And I know that because my last relationship too, I said to this man, you don't get to fucking have my location all the time. You don't get to be up in my phone. You don't get to stalk me. Essentially, like stalking is literally normalized now. I just burped. Little did I know that he was hiding the entire world from me. But it created a place for me. I really trusted this person because let me tell you, everything in the dark comes to light. And I'm a really firm believer in that, is that the truth does come at some point in time. I'm a firm believer in that. And you should be too, because it keeps you from like freaking out about shit. But date yourself too. I date myself. I literally I'm taken. I'm in a relationship right now. I'm in a relationship with myself. So technically, I'm not single. God. Take yourself on a date. Go to the movies. Go to dinner, girl. Go shopping all day. Get to know yourself, you know? And these are things that we don't do with our girlfriends anymore because boys come into the picture. And again, this is a natural course. I'm not blaming anybody who has gotten to a place in a relationship where, you know, you're very much so sharing your life with each other, because I'm at the age where I have to understand that starts to happen with people. But we don't like do little things anymore, like sleepovers. Do you guys remember when we used to like run errands together? Or was that just me? Like I would pick my friends up and be like, okay, I need to go run errands all day. Will you come with me? And your girlfriend just sits in the front seat and it's like, yeah, girl. And like rotting, like laying in a house completely quiet. Like when you rot on your phone, it's alone, right? You don't invite your girlfriends over to rot. Also because your social battery is sucked out of your damn mind. Mind you too. So yeah, those little things, like I feel like we should just run to our friends more. And I just feel like we've like lost that, and in turn it like breaks so many part of our inner child and so many parts of us because we get so lost in these men and in the validation. Like they don't determine who we are. That man has no power. He should not be determining who you are and how you feel about yourself and belittling you. That should not be happening. And I know it's hard to get away. Like, a lot of men give us that validation, and a lot of girls need validation in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not blaming people for that, because it's a very real human emotion. I might not experience it, but I'm very well aware that it's like a plague. A lot of people, that happens, and it's genuine. It's not their fault. But you can't have your worth in these men. You cannot have all that you are be able to be crumbled like in an instant like that. Like, that should be terrifying to you, and that should be a sign to like buck up and say, fuck these men. Say it with me. Ready? Fuck these men. And just so you know, a male brain is not developed until he's 26. Just saying. I'm not trying to be anybody's teacher. I don't know about you, but I'm working hard. So my other half, when they show up, like I said, better be on 15 too, because that's where I'm at. I hope that gave you guys a little persuasion. You know, there's so many topics that come with Valentine's Day and come with relationships. So this isn't at all the only time we'll talk about boys. This is just me trying to urge you to solitude and to the importance of that, if you will. And I'm glad, because I started this podcast today despite what I look like. I was having a bad morning. But that's really all I have to say. You know, when it comes to booze and boys, you don't get the boy or the booze. Take them both out of the picture. So I encourage you, spend time alone. And like I said, but I love you guys, and you are so worth it. You are so worth every ounce of energy that you're going to pour into yourself. You're so worth the distance away from that man, and you're so worth being self-sufficient. You are not what he tells you are. You are not going to become what he says you're going to become. And I want you to understand that deep at your core. And I want you to love yourself, because I can't even tell you are right now, but I know you're beautiful. I just know it. Because every woman is the president of the United States. And maybe I hate men for a reason. Maybe I've been a lesbian this whole time. Who knows? But I love you guys, and I encourage you to find your place. Happy Valentine's Day. Do not let that man shit on you. I hope he buys you so much stuff. You deserve it. Love you guys. See you next week. Bye.